Welcome to the 30 Goals Challenge for Educators. My name is Shelly Terrell, and today's goal is to teach digital citizenship. Jer Thorpe said, "We are all leaving digital trails behind us as we make our way around our individual lives." Many of our students, part of their daily routine is interacting on social media sites. Many of our students have Facebook accounts, MySpace accounts, and are on various social networks. Teenagers are learning from each other how to be on these social networks, and often they're not getting the type of feedback or the knowledge that they need to really use these social networks for learning. And often they might post different things that later in life will come to haunt them. In the media, we have seen many different types of problems with sexting. We've seen cyberbullying, and these tend to become really major problems, with some students even going to the point of committing suicide or having to transfer schools. As many schools block and ban, and they don't allow teachers to use social networks to teach kids how to be responsible digital citizens, when we really should be taking these opportunities and teaching our students about these tools and how they can be used for good. Yesterday we talked about establishing a web presence. I think this is so important because in order for us to understand what it means to thrive online and to be digital citizens, we have to become citizens ourselves and understand the communication process, how it's different. And it is very different. It's very different than face-to-face communication. Students using social networks are getting younger and younger. I remember earlier this year, my 12-year-old niece friended me on Facebook, and I was a bit nervous about it. But my sister, who's also an educator, talked about how she showed her different types of videos, what could happen, the dangers of being online, and just covered many different topics with her. They talked about it, they discussed it, they discussed what would happen if she abused her privileges. When I've been observing my niece, I have seen her friends may post something that's not entirely appropriate, but she is very responsible, and she takes a really positive approach to using Facebook, and I think she just is very responsible about using online networks, even at a very young age of 12. So I really think that this is the opportunities we need to take. The opposite view, I remember teaching high school students, and the principal at the time had said, MySpace is banned. You can't even have MySpace page at all if you're a student at this. We had a private high school, and we had about, I would say, 500, a little over 500 students, and to really demand that every single student not have a MySpace page at the time, because this was years ago when MySpace was the thriving social network, I thought was a bit ridiculous. And it ended up that most of my students, and most of the students that I did see their MySpace pages, because they would sneak it in, any chance they got to break this rule in the school, they would. And they knew how to change IP addresses, and none of the filtering worked. And their pages were filled with profiles that were just really incredibly damaging, that students shouldn't have on their profile, like drinking and many things that just were, I thought, pretty dangerous and could hurt them later in life, in a career. Or there would be no way, if somebody was having problems with the cyberbully, for us to deal with it. It was very difficult for us to even talk about this and teach our students a proactive approach to being online. So I really think that banning isn't the answer. I think that we have to sit down and give our students some help, some guidance. We have to provide workshops where we help keep parents aware, give them different types of tips for having children online and in social networks. Many of the parents themselves may be on social networks, and they may not even know about digital citizenship. Your short-term goal is to suggest one of the areas that you believe in digital citizenship should cover, because there's so many areas out there. There's cyberbullying, there's profiles, there's music, there's Creative Commons, there's sexting. I mean, there's just so much information out there about digital safety that I really think that many of us have to contribute to the conversation. So add your topic of concern and share a very valuable resource for that. Today's resource is the That's Not Cool. I really love this resource. It faces students with different difficult situations when they're online and they have to choose A, B, or C. And when they click this on the video, they find out what's the consequence of the action. And for the long-term goal is to think about having a workshop or a day where you teach digital citizenship to parents and their children and the entire staff.